another member of the Confident Club, by the way, that's Jim. Right? What's tickled me is the eclectic use of music today, and there's probably about 20% of the people in the room know what that song was. Not the lies. Okay, whatever. Right. I don't know how vulnerable you're prepared to be, but I'm prepared to be vulnerable in the next 30 minutes. Okay? So 4 people here. Have you ever watched Have I Got News for You? You might know. Do you know that odd one out round? So here's odd one out round. So we've got Henry VIII, Damien Lewis, the actor. What's that programme he's in where he's a spy or whatever? Homeland. Do you know who that is? Alistair Campbell and me. So just have a quick think. Have a chat on your tables. Who's the odd one out? Have a little chat on your tables. Henry VIII, Damien Lewis, Alistair Campbell, me. So what's the answers? What do we think? Is it what? Oh, so Ginners. Ginger. So that's for me. It's all one out. Is that the answer? No, that's the wrong answer. Everybody got a different answer? He's got a hat on. He's got a hat on. Pretty basic.
Henry VIII is dead.
Is that it?
He's dead. He's dead.
He's dead. No, they're all wrong. Actually, I cheated because it's not who the odd one out is, it's what they all have in common. And what they all have in common is they've all suffered from acute depression, including me. So 1 in 4 people in this room will have some sort of mental health issue in the next year. 1 in 4 people in this room have probably already got one. So if it's not you, it's possibly the person sat next to you. Right? So that's what I want to talk about. Depression. Just so I have to do one, right? So exactly 12 months ago, I probably spent most of my time in this. I'm going to throw this away after today, by the way. This is pretty scary, isn't it? In this. So, yeah, what day is it today? Friday? So this time, a year ago, I was probably in bed, crying, not knowing what had hit me, in despair, really. And if you've never had depression, it's a really hard thing to describe. It's a bit like if you've never suffered from racism. How the hell could you explain it? If you've never suffered from homophobia, how the heck could you even empathise with it? So I'm going to do my best to explain to you what it feels like to be depressed. But I don't know if I'll be able to do such a good job, but I'll do my best. So how does it start? I'm going to give you some reasons later on how it starts, from a medical point of view. Now when you're in it, it's like your brain's like cotton wool. So you can't find out this stuff I'm going to share with you. It's only since I've recovered that I've kind of looked into it and I can give you maybe some insights, and we'll do that in a minute, right? But to try and describe it, it's like A, you hate yourself. B, you have absolutely no motivation. Now, this is quite ironic when you're a motivational speaker, isn't it? It's very hard to communicate with anyone. It's almost impossible to describe how you feel, and you don't know why. You just don't know why. And other people who haven't been there don't understand either. And I suppose at the bottom of that spiral is when you get to the point where you're actually looking at suicide websites. Not that I ever thought about committing suicide, but that's how you think, can it just end? Really? That's the kind of closest I've come to describing it to you, really. Shall we get rid of this now? We'll burn it later, right? Look it up, right? So what happens is, when you get depressed, this guy shows up. A black dog. Classic expression for depression. So I think Winston Churchill, I think it was coined before him, but Winston Churchill, I don't like the word suffered. The black dog turned up. And when the black dog gets over your trouser leg, he won't let go. He just won't let go, right? And it starts off quite small like that. But then it gets bigger and bigger to become totally overwhelmed. Now, you've probably heard the expression, haven't you? Glass half full. Yeah? How many people in the room would say, generally, they're a glass half full person? They're positive, right? And how many people say, my lad Tom, if you asked him, he'd say he's a glass half empty. It's alright? There's the thing. Now what happens when you have depression is, your glass fills up right to the top. But not with positive stuff. It fills up with this special black dog. And what happens is, it starts to get darker and darker, and darker and darker, until it gets right to the top. And when it gets right to the top, it's so full of that there's nothing you can do. And that's why when the cat is sick on the carpet, you burst into tears. And you don't know why. Right? So the deal is, you've got to empty the glass before you can fill it with stuff. Now the bad news is, depression isn't discriminatory. That black dog, whether your glass is half full or half empty, could hit anybody in this room. 1 in 4 people could be drinking this. 35 million people in the world suffer from some sort of mental health issue. Right? So do you think we should do something about it?
Yes.
What do you think? Definitely, right? The first thing is, it's misunderstood. Does everybody know who this is?
Yeah.
Jeff Boycott, the cricket commentator. In the 2000, we've got a World Cup in the cricket, right? In the 2011 World Cup, there was an English player called Michael Yardy who left the squad because he was suffering from acute depression. Right? Jeff Boycott said, oh, he must have read my comments about his bowling and it upset him. Obviously, he's not good enough at this level. Upset? Trust me, do we all get upset now and again? Do we sometimes feel a bit down? That is not depression. You don't have a choice. Whether it's half full or half empty, you don't have a choice. Now, you think he got a bit of criticism over that? Rightly so. But I don't blame Jeff, because he didn't know. So he backtracked, and then he said, I think, unless you've had depression, you're not qualified to talk about it. Well, I am, because I have. So shall we talk about it then? So here's the other view. The chair of NICE, have you heard of NICE? National Institute of Healthcare Excellence. This is what this guy said. You're just as dead from suicide as you are from cancer. Alistair Campbell, let's go back to Alistair Campbell. He's been really upfront in talking about the fact he's had acute depression, which I think is fantastic, right? And he said he was in the cabinet, he didn't name the politician, but this guy, and he said, by the way everybody, I've got acute depression. It's pretty cool, isn't it, I think? And the guy in the cabinet said, I don't understand, Alistair, what do you have to be unhappy about? And he said, that's like saying to somebody, what do you have to be cancerous about? What do you have to be broken-legged about? What do you have to be diabetic about? Because you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. Now, those of you who've been on the workshop, you'll know I'm a big fan of tables. So a table is a good way of thinking about a belief. So I got to thinking, why is depression still a stigma? So the top of the table is what we believe, right? Stigma. And then we get some references, don't we? So what builds a stigma table? Now, from my point of view, these are some of the things that I kind of felt were some of the legs on the table as to why I felt how I felt and why other people feel how they feel about this thing that's not discussed enough, right? And I think the first two maybe big legs, the most important legs are that, first of all, just like with Jeff Boycott, it's misunderstood. It's misunderstood. If we felt of depression being like a physical disease, people wouldn't have an issue with it, would they? They just wouldn't have an issue with it. Because we understand a broken leg, it can get better. But it's misunderstood. The number one way in which it's misunderstood is people think, I'm immune from it. You're not. 1 in 4 people in this room is going to have a mental health issue in the next 12 months. And they might already have one now. Right? So we don't have a choice whether our glass is half empty or half full. It could happen to you. and it'll blindside you like a massive truck, and you won't see it coming, right? So it's misunderstood. I think the other big thing with it is that people are ashamed. People are really ashamed that they've got it, to talk about it, because it could be seen by some people like Jeff Boycott, he's not good enough to play at this level. It could be seen as a weakness. So I can't really talk about that, can I? I think the big thing with depression or any kind of mental health illness is you keep it a secret. Michael Yard with the cricket again, that Jeff Boycott was referring to, said, boy, do you get to become a good actor. That's because you do as a motivational speaker when you front up and get off, have to put a good face on. Don't you? Even though you're feeling the worst you could feel. And then just the energy to pretend things are cool. That takes more out of you than being depressed. So you're keeping it a secret is quite hard. And it's seen by most people who've never had it or experienced it as a negative. My idea to change the world is to change that table with your help, really. Now you may be thinking, this is great, Steve, but come here for a lecture on depression. Thanks a lot. So I don't want you to think about it just being about depression. I want you to think about it about being a better person. And also think about it, what's it got to do with business? What's it got to do with business? Well, first thing it's got to do with business is the numbers. So, latest research I read was £9 billion is costing worldwide this thing called mental illness, particularly depression. So there's a cost to this, isn't there? It's costing the National Health Service, what is it costing them? It's costing them £265 million a year to hand out drugs. And it's costing £360 per person per year. So there's from a business, if you run a business, there's just a practical cost, isn't there? But I think the human cost is more important. The human cost is definitely more important. Now, you know when you put your clicker down, and you go, and somebody shouts out like in a pantomime, behind you! But I think there's three other reasons why this is important to all business, right? And the first reason is this. The way to help people with any issue is to become a better listener. And Jim's just touched on that, you know, when people aren't really listening. So I want to talk about that, just not to do with depression, just in your business, how good a listener are you? Rather than a talker, right? The second key principle is the principle of involving others. Well, that's dealing with mental health issues, anything, the concept of involving others. So before I had depression, I always used to bang on about, and in my book, do you know, you can't be successful on your own. You can't be successful if you don't involve other people. You can't be successful if you don't do what Richard does and goes, we've been my mentor, right? The key to success is involving other people. But that's true when somebody's suffering as well. So, listening, involving other people, but also being prepared to be vulnerable in business. And I say this a lot. Let me give you two great examples of people in business who were prepared to be vulnerable. So we've got some people from Arco. Arco are a fantastic company. I think I've left my phone over there, but what's your boss called? Tom Martin. His grandfather started Arco in Hull, God knows how many 100 years ago. And what I loved was, he was at a conference and it was on, what's your strategy and what's your 5-year plan? And he said, I think it was next to a German guy, and he said, I'll just download my 98 slides. And he said, I'm there, and he said, here's that strategy. And then Thomas got his phone out and said, mine's on the back of my phone. Right? And the key thing is values driven. There it is. In fact, let me see it, there you go. Right? But anyway, I was a guest speaker at their conference this year. And they did this, and you don't mind me sharing this, I'm sure. They did this great thing. They nicked it off Chris at ITV, actually. When we came in the room, you know, Great Curiosity, they had a big blow-up elephant on stage. And then a few moments into it might have been you even, they said, there's an elephant in the room. And the elephant is, we're not as good at customer care as we think. In fact, we're going to do some case studies. And what they did was, you know, like a case study with some guy, because there's a lot of safety gear, right? Some guy like ordering some boots, and it was like a nightmare, wasn't it? But cleverly, and I think they did this cleverly, they saved the worst one and they gave it to Thomas to read out, right? It was the guy who was like grandfather from the company. And when they gave it to him, I looked at him and I could see he was going to be upset before he even read it out. And it was something, I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like, I've been a customer of Arco for 20 years, but you've really screwed up, but we're never going to do business with you again. And Thomas was literally almost in tears. And do you know, that's about being vulnerable as a leader. That was just fantastic. We've got some people from home here, who are our advertising agency. What's his title? Dave Stewart's. CEO. So Dave Stewart's, I've known him since he was 19, right? I don't know how old he is now. And he was at another conference, a bit like Thomas, right? And they're all kind of CEOs going, what's your 5-year strategy? What's your vision and values? And Dave, I sat there thinking, I hope they don't ask me because I don't know. And then what he did, he asked me, he said, do you know, I think we need to do some work around this thing. Will you come in and help out? And we did this process, which is fantastic. But to launch that project, they had a big event, they had a big social event. And that event, Dave got up and told that story. And said it was at this thing, and they said, what are your visions and values? And I thought, I don't know. And I thought, shouldn't I? And then he said to the team, well, I think you might. And then he left them to it, and they went off and started working on it, right? That's being vulnerable. Whereas we had another client, can't tell you who it was or what the client was, but this guy was on our workshop who'd done it. He was on the workshop for 2 days, and he never took the mask off once. I have no idea who he is as a person after 2 days. So do you think being vulnerable in life and business would be like a strength rather than a weakness? Yes. Definitely. And yet we all go round, don't we? When it's mask. So I think that's why it's important to business. Right? That's why it's important to business. Right, let's click her out now. Come on. It's in my pocket. So I've got to thinking, just a quick bit of science, where does it come from? You know, once I recovered, because I was in no position to think about this at the time. And you need to know that about other people. They're in no position to think at all. You know, all you can sort of say to them is, you will get better. And they won't believe you either, by the way, right? So where does it come from? Well, I think there's 4 fundamental causes. What do you think, the little you might know, the lot you might know, what do you think some of the causes are of your black dog showing up then? What do you reckon?
High stress. So
high stress, yeah? So it can go from, you know, because there's kind of positive stress, isn't there? Because, by the way, just as a little aside, you know, I was talking to my wife, Tammy, not a real name about this, right? She said, you know, you've got to be careful that people don't use this as an excuse. You know, those malingerers and those people, you know, those people say, I'm really depressed. And you're not. You're just using that phrase. Because you're not. I'm really stressed. No. But yes, stress could tip over into depression, for sure. A lot of people go, it's this. Circumstances. It's this. And that can be an issue. That was an issue for me at the time. We weren't making enough money, stuff was happening, business wasn't as good as it should be. That was a factor. And these things can combine. So circumstances, for sure. The one that most people know is brain chemistry. Ooh, your brain's out of line. And most people know that one, won't they? If we said to you, what is it? Oh, if somebody's suffering from depression, there's something wrong with the brain, chemical imbalance. Now, even though we know that, that still hasn't removed the stigma. Because if you went, I've got a broken leg, cool, I'm suffering from chemical imbalance. No, you're just a malingerer. You're not really ill, right? But here's 2 that I found interesting when I researched this, that I hadn't really come across. There's quite a bit of research that says, if you have an accident, it can trigger depression. So going back to our 4 people, Damien Lewis is currently playing Henry VIII in this TV series called Wolf Hall, if you've seen that. And to research that, he looked into the life of Henry VIII. And if you don't know about Henry VIII, when he was like 21, at the time of the age, he's quite tall, quite good looking. You know, a bit like Richard, you know, a bit weird. And then he had a jousting accident. And we now know what happened to him was he went into a spiral of depression and became a big fat lump. And started eating too much. Ironically, Damien Lewis also suffered from depression because he had, when he was a young actor, he had a motorcycle accident and didn't leave his room. He was in his dressing gown for 3 months. So sometimes, just that accident, and I look back and I fell down the stairs about a month before Christmas and badly broke my ribs, so I'm thinking, now imagine you said to people, you know he's got depression, it might be the result of an accident, just like you broke your arm. That might help with the stigma bit, might it? But the most interesting bit of research I came across recently was this one. Is depression a kind of allergic reaction? It can start in the body. So what can happen again is, coupled with an accident, what your body's tuned to do is, right, shut down. You've had an accident, shut down. I was listening to Jeremy Hardy, the stand-up comedian, you don't have to have heard of him, being interviewed by Mark Radcliffe on Radio 6 Music. And Mark Radcliffe said to Jeremy Hardy, do you ever get nervous before, doing a stand-up gig? And he went, no, but sometimes I said, I don't understand this, I get really tired. And Mark Radcliffe said, I'm in a band, and sometimes just before a big performance, I get really tired. I don't know if you've had this. And what that is, your body's saying, well, we just need to shut everything down to the minimum level to kind of keep everything in reserve. And I think what happens here is the same thing. Right, your body goes, right, often if you've got inflammation, so something like rheumatoid arthritis, a lot of people with that suffer from depression, and people go, it's the rheumatoid arthritis, if you've got that, it makes you depressed. No, it's because your body's shutting down, then it affects your mind. So imagine if we all said, hey, if it's an allergic reaction, we're all allergic to stuff, aren't we? We're all allergic to stuff. So maybe it could be that. That's a bit of theory. But let's be practical now. And not just think about depression, but think about how we can get the black dog to piss off. So I've got many ways, but I've only got time to share some with you quickly. So how do you train? I would say tame would be quite nice, your black dog, and make it go away and be a bit smaller, right? I think there's several ways, right? The first way is you've got to get your A-team around you. So this I've just introduced very briefly to my A-team, and the key principle here is involving other people. Now that's quite hard when you're ashamed, and it's a secret, and it's misunderstood to make that step. Can you imagine how hard that is? To tell your kids, in my case, Tom, who's 24, Megan, who's 19, and Finn, who's 21. So this is my rock candy. All my kids, once I got to the point where I realised what was going on, I told them all. And I said, Dad might be in bed for 3 days, and he might not want to talk to you, but this is why. Right? So you need to get the A-team. The part of my A-team, if you recognise this person, this is me, Kelly in Moscow. It's really cold in Moscow, what are you doing, right? Because your brain's caught a wall, you can't do it for yourself, and that's quite embarrassing as well. So Curly says, I'll sort out all the finances. So she's my financial director. Malcolm says, I'll sort out the car. That's what he likes to do. This is my best mate Tom, who's a monkey hanger from Hartlepool. Tom says, have you got any business appointments in January? I said, I've got loads. He said, you aren't fit to drive. I'll drive you everywhere. I said, what are you going to do for work? He said, okay, I'll just drive you. So he drove me to business meetings and drove me home. Right? This is my other 18. These are my walking chums, Sean, Vernon and Dave. I've known these guys 35 years. And I told them, and interesting when you tell people, go, guess what, I've had it too. Guess what, I know somebody's had it, because it's 1 in 4. And they said, we've planned this trip to go watch Rhinos, my team, in Perpignan. You're coming, aren't you? And I went, no, I'm lying in bed crying in a dressing gown. They said, well, we'll take you in a dressing gown anyway. I said, well, I don't feel like it, and I haven't got enough money. And they said, look, you're coming, and if the shoes are on the floor, I said, I feel really guilty. If you're paying for everything, shut up. If it was the other way around, would you do it for us? Yeah. This is Uncle Richard, Kenny's Uncle Richard and his dog, 74-year-old Yorkshireman. This is my pub quiz team, him and 4 other people. For 2 months, I told them I had a viral infection because I was ashamed to tell my pub quiz team that I had depression. And then I thought, I can't keep doing this. So I told Richard, he went, big whoop-de-doo. My son's had it. My wife's had it. So what? Are you coming to the quiz or what? Mr. Cafoot, wherever he is. Again, he's had challenges with this. And I told Paul, he went, yeah, been there, I know what that's like. And it's funny, and I know it can sound like a kind of funny, weird club. But when you do meet somebody who's definitely had it, you can have a different kind of conversation, because it's really hard, if you've not suffered from racism or homophobia, to really understand what it's really like, right? This is my recently deceased cat, Flea. This was that's why he's got a bandage on. Just as an aside, sometimes when you've had to take a cat to the vets, first time I've had to do this. This is a good session, isn't it? Happiness followed by depression. Yeah, when I took to the vets, I got to take him there. Now, all the kids want to go, but they're all at work, so I thought he's on his last leg. So I took him to the vets, and those of you who know me know I love Northern Soul. Now, what are the chances of going into a vet at 5 o'clock on a Friday and they're playing a classic Northern Soul track called Hold Back the Night, Don't Turn Out the Lights? And I've got a cat. And then because it's called flea, on the wall there's a big poster, you know, for flea treatment that says, "Down with all fleas." However, the point is when you have something else to care for, that's quite useful, right? And these two guys, this is Sebastian Foucault, who invented free running. Have you seen that James Bond movie where he gets chased across a building site? He just happens to be a friend and a fellow delegate. But this is one of the guys who definitely saved my life. This is a guy called David Shepherd, who is a master trainer of NLP. So you think about things where you can get help. And he said, around David, he said, "Drop everything, I'm dropping everything, come and stay with me for a week. I'm going to do no business, I'm going to mess with your head, big style." And he did all sorts of weird things you already know about now, like things like timeline therapy, all sorts of stuff. And I literally came back a changed man. And the challenge with that is when I came back, because literally, when I turn up, you know, depression shows up in your body. So I turned up like this at the train station, and I came back like this, like full of veins. And like, I can see a way through, like at the end of the tunnel. And everybody was watching me. This is the worst bit. People were watching me like a hawk, because they couldn't believe it. Curling people and Malcolm going, "Yeah, this can't be right." You know, and I felt that real pressure. And that's the thing when you've got through an episode of depression, you always think people are watching you like, "Oh, there's a little sign." So be aware of that as well, like, because it can be right annoying. So here's top tips, not just help somebody with depression or if you suddenly suffer it from yourself, but just in life in general, right? And the key thing is listening. Now, when we had our first Young Confident Club meeting, so you've met them all now, right? So there's Calvin, there's Richard, there's me, there's Curly, there's Jim, is that everybody? Paul, right? And I said, this is going to be a nightmare, this meeting, because you think we can all talk. So what we said was, we need the listening spoon, right? So use this home with your family, right? Whoever's holding the spoon is in the chair. I get to talk and you shut up. And you don't talk till I pass the spoon to you. So the listening spoon is a good one. But the insight I got from David Shepherd was this, talking about candy. You see, men, when they communicate with women, have this visor down. And they're not open. And they go, you know, I don't want to burden you with all my stuff. You don't need to know what the finances are like. You need to know how I'm feeling. I'll just keep it all behind here. And David said, do you know, you're an internal processor. Most men are. Can is an external processor. You're actually doing the wrong thing. What you need to do is this. Lift the visor. And that's been a massive, you know, there's some upsides to this. There's some massive upsides. I won't wish it on anybody. There's some massive upsides. So, you know, learning to listen properly. Because most people have got these, can't hear a thing now, ear defenders on, right? So listening, and now don't just think about this about depression, just think about your business. You might mention it in a moment, Jim's coming back in a moment to lighten the mood. Stephen Covey said, first seek to understand before being understood. That's a great way to think about it, isn't it? Whether you're talking to somebody with depression or anything. You know, we're too quick. Often we're just waiting our turn to reply, especially men again. You know why men don't learn new jokes, don't you? Because somebody's telling a joke about a dog, and all the time you're thinking, I've got a great joke about a dog. So you're not listening to them, you're just waiting your turn to tell your joke. That's why you only know one joke, right? A lot of people listen with prejudice, a lot of people listen with prejudgment, don't they? I've already decided. I often say to people, the best audience you can ever get is a room full of women. Icon Live, one of my clients, 1,000 women in a room, it's fantastic. Speakers, you ever get the chance to speak to a room full of women, it's fantastic because they're really open and they're just kind of like, they'll listen. Whereas men are like this, right? And prove to me afterwards, right, that you're on call. So listening is crucial. Seek advice. Find a really good doctor to talk about this dog with you. Now, you seek him out, you've got to get a good doctor, right? So you might need that. And the doctor might say, he needs some of these. This is empty now. But I took some drugs for a year. That's cool. brain chemistry and all that, right? So you might need to know that. Jim touched on this, the art of being present at the moment, mindfulness. That's about going, might not be feeling great, or even if you haven't got some mental condition, I'm at work, I'm going to be in the moment, I'm going to be in the room, I'm going to enjoy doing the washing up. Right? Might be that. So, how can we build a normal table then? What would a normal table look like? Would be the question. Well, I think a normal table, first of all, isn't it interesting that even 20 years ago, we wouldn't use the word cancer? 20 years ago, people said the big C, but don't use the word cancer. Right? Now today it's like, hey, cancer, ooh, cancer, I've got cancer, you've got cancer, cancer. Right? So what if depression was like that? What if mental illness was like that? It's just another thing. Right? 20 years ago, I don't know if Stephen Fry could have got married to his partner. Now we go, so what? Right? What if we could do that with depression, right? So what would be some different legs we could have? Well, first of all, understanding. You might have just got a tiny little bit more understanding about mental illness from what I've said. You might not. Even if you've got a tiny bit, that could help the 1 in 4, couldn't it? Right? So understanding is critical. Right? Let's make sure we understand it. Now, the next bit is let's make sure we accept it. You don't have a choice whether your glass, that happens to your glass. You don't have a choice. Half empty, half full. Won't make the difference. It's a non-discriminative mongrel. It could pick you. Right? But I have to accept that fact and then go, okay, it's here. What am I going to do about it, right? Let's be open about it like I'm being with you right now. Because it would have been a lot easier not to tell you this, by the way. Lots easier. But my goal is if I'm open with you, you might be open with people. And I'm not saying we can make it a positive. And I won't wish it on anybody. But in some ways now I'm kind of through the other end of it where it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Ever. Because boy do you find out who your friends are. Boy do you find out who your A team is. Right. So what if then we got rid of this guy? I'm not saying he won't come back. Right. But this guy showed up instead. That'd be good, wouldn't it? So, we're talking today about ideas to change the world, right? So, here's my idea to change the world. Let's create some yellow dogs. So, got a yellow badge here, and Shirley's got a lot of yellow badges there. So what we're saying is, start wearing a yellow badge, a yellow dog. And what that says is, I've either had depression, I know someone's had depression, and I understand it to some degree, and you can talk to me about it. And it starts here. It starts here, wherever we are on here. And that could spread globally, couldn't it? I don't know how, because you need to think about that. But if we start talking about yellow dogs, as well as black dogs, that would be a good thing, wouldn't it? So, involve people more. Not just with people with mental illness, anything. Listen more. And most importantly, be more vulnerable. Thank you.